Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Rupert Murdoch, whose huge media empire spans the globe, including interests here in Britain, has decided to sell most of it to the Disney Corporation. The deal, worth nearly £40 billion, ends nearly 5 decades of expansion that saw Mr Murdoch become one of the world's most influential media figures. So why has he done it? Our media editor Am Incorrigible reports.
When Rupert Murdoch bought the News of the World in 1968, he was an outsider. But this canny Australian with news in his veins made his way to the heart of the establishment in both Britain and America, wielding extraordinary influence. From his base in tabloid newspapers, he moved aggressively into film and television, owning studios and networks that entertained hundreds of millions of people.
Well, I'll always have my crank calls.
But now, in a move foreseen in The Simpsons, another Murdoch product, Fox has become a division of Disney. In a phone conference today, Rupert Murdoch explained his strategy.
I know a lot of people are wondering, why did the Murdochs come to such a momentous decision? Are we retreating? Absolutely not. We are pivoting at a pivotal moment.
3, 2, 1, go!
Andrew Neil was at Murdoch's side as an editor and executive for years. For him, this is the end of a dynasty.
He's been trying to do that for 35, 40 years. I used to sit with him in restaurants in London in the mid-1980s, and he talked about a Murdoch dynasty, about putting his children into key positions, letting them fight for the top position, and whoever wins would take over. And the Murdoch name would go on forever. And here at a stroke, he's unbundling the empire, and the dynastic ambitions are gone.
The deal still needs regulatory approval, but if it goes through, it will create a new media superpower. Mr Murdoch is selling his world-famous television studio, 20th Century Fox, international TV businesses, including Sky in Europe and Star in India, cable networks such as FX and National Geographic, and perhaps most strikingly, a stake in Hulu, a streaming service with access to millions of customers, which could rival Netflix. And that's the key for Disney. Streaming has changed broadcasting forever, allowing you at home to watch a seemingly infinite number of shows how you want, where you want, and when you want. Streaming services such as Hulu, in which Disney will now have a controlling stake, cut out the middleman of domestic television stations, broadcasting directly into millions of homes.
The Fox international footprint has some extremely high-end technology to deliver all this content to consumers in more modern ways. Sky in Europe is a good example of that, Star India another one. And so to the consumer, not only will they be getting more great content, high-quality content, but they'll be getting it in ways that they demand.
Sky News and Sky Sports look set to continue, while Fox says its own bid for full control of Sky, currently stuck with regulators, remains in place. Even with this acquisition, Disney is playing catch-up with tech giants like Facebook, Amazon and Apple, who, if they aren't there already, are coming to a small screen near you. Am Incorrigible, BBC News.
Now, it's a media mega deal. Rupert Murdoch is selling the vast majority of his 21st Century Fox media empire to a larger rival Disney. But what does the £39 billion deal mean for his attempts to take control of the British broadcaster Sky? Our business editor Siobhan Kennedy has this.
Once upon a time, there was a mighty baron who ruled over a powerful kingdom. But he looked upon another prize, and he desired it. But great forces stood in the way, so the baron turned his gaze to a far-off land, and a vast pot of gold being offered by an illustrious mouse. Disney's scriptwriters could no doubt turn the 7 decades of Rupert Murdoch's empire building into a Hollywood blockbuster. If they did, the twist at the end would surely be today, as Murdoch, the consummate deal maker, suddenly changes tack, selling off a huge chunk of his empire to an American rival.
Disney is already a huge global brand, but this mega deal will allow it to expand even further with 21st Century Fox's vast stable of movie and TV operations. And crucially, Disney will now take control of Rupert Murdoch's share of Sky, a potentially huge moment for the normally acquisitive Murdochs, and one which apparently draws the line under their ambitions to expand their media empire here in Britain.
Speaking in the last hour, Rupert Murdoch said the decision to break up his empire wasn't because of political pressure, more down to a drink with his old friend, Disney chief executive Bob Iger.
This started with Bob Iger, a friend of mine, sitting at my winery one evening, having a couple of glasses and just talking about our businesses and the industry generally, the forces of disruption that were happening. And that was all. Then he rang me back a couple of weeks later and said, look, let's get into this conversation a bit more.
It doesn't get much more American than Walt Disney, home to such iconic characters as Mickey Mouse, Buzz Lightyear,
to infinity and beyond.
Let it go,
and Princess Elsa. The $52.4 billion deal will see it acquire the movie arm of 20th Century Fox, a stake in Hulu, the all-important up-and-coming rival to Netflix, and a string of TV and cable companies, including the 39% stake Fox holds in Sky in the UK. And what remains at 21st Century Fox will morph into a new spin-off called simply Fox, that will include the highly profitable Fox News, business and sports channels that Rupert Murdoch now plans to expand. But where does this leave Murdoch's bid to acquire the whole of Sky? It's been referred to regulators on competition grounds and over concerns about sexual harassment allegations in Fox News and the phone hacking scandal here. But if the regulator knows that Disney, with its squeaky clean image, will become the ultimate owner of Sky, then the deal may be more likely to go through.
Make no mistake, with his News Corp and its influential stable of newspapers like The Times and The Sun, Rupert Murdoch will remain a highly influential and no doubt controversial figure on the British media landscape. One he can perhaps now focus more on because he's decided to give up his battle to take control of Sky and hand it over to Disney if the deal goes through.
Rupert Murdoch is now no longer going to be involved with anything to do with Sky. He doesn't have to, he will be able to pursue his political agendas and his personal agendas, at a higher and stronger level and without any opposition, I dare say, from his son James, who is well known to have different political opinions and above all does not believe that assets that are politically provocative are fundamentally as valuable as his father believes.
As for James Murdoch, seen here on the right, he'll stay on as the boss of 21st Century Fox while the deal goes through and could end up with a senior role inside Disney, in charge of Sky after all. Father and son is an enduring theme of the Disney-owned Star Wars movies. For his detractors, Rupert Murdoch's move today is the empire finally in retreat. But given it's Mr. Murdoch, there'll no doubt be yet another sequel.
We're joined in the studio here by Ed Miliband, the former Labour Party leader, and joining us from Los Angeles, Anushka Sekawi, entertainment reporter for the financial broadcaster Bloomberg. Anushka, what do you make of this? Is this Murdoch in retreat?
Well, Rupert himself pushed back on that idea this morning, saying that he was actually pivoting at a pivotal moment in media. What's happened in the media industry is the encroachment of internet companies and digital distributors like Netflix, who have really increased the competition for content and changed the way consumers are watching TV and film. And we're seeing a huge change in Hollywood as well, with impact on the theatre business. So what this does, it gives him an opportunity to sell some of his key assets, like the storied 20th Century Fox studio, probably at the height of its value, to Disney. And then he gets a big chunk of Disney, and then he gets to have a smaller, more focused sports and news business with the new Fox, as he calls it.
But the question this side of the Atlantic is what happens to the Sky-Fox deal, the anxiety that Sky News will be taken over by the madcap Fox News outfit?
Well, what's clear right now is that if Fox has committed to completing that deal, we won't know probably until the first part of next year whether or not British regulators will approve that. They may, as you know, your colleague was saying, think that Disney is going to be the ultimate owner and maybe be more, will be happier with them. If it doesn't go through, it's really unclear what happens. Disney will own the 39% stake that Fox owns now. But they have, if you read between the lines today, said that they won't necessarily bid for the whole company. And that's something that could get challenged. So there's going to be plenty more drama in this story.
Right. Thank you very much for the moment. Ed Miliband, your concern is what happens to Sky News and whether Fox do get hold of it. What's your view at the moment?
I think the big picture here is for all of my political lifetime, your journalistic lifetime, Rupert Murdoch has been acquiring power, more and more power. And our worry was that he was going to acquire Sky News, get complete control of Sky News and turn it into Fox News. I think that prospect is not going to happen now. I mean, I think if this deal goes through, that idea is dead and buried. And that interview with Rupert Murdoch that you showed, he's quite mournful about selling off Sky. I think it's good for our broadcasting landscape in this country, because I don't think we want Fox News here.
But you can't be sure that you would still keep Sky. There's a good chance, or a bad chance, that it might well lose out in all this and that Disney will not be interested.
Well, Bob Iger, the head of Disney, has said today that he is committed to Sky News, and they run ABC News in the United States. And if I have a choice of ABC News, Sky News becoming more like ABC News in the US, or more like Fox News, I'll choose ABC News.
But Sky costs an absolute fortune to run. Is he going to want that?
It does, but I think it's an asset for Sky. It gives Sky status. And look, you know, the concern here was, this is a man, Rupert Murdoch, who still has a powerful newspaper network, a powerful radio network. We've seen scandals at Fox, the sexual harassment scandals. We see it, sort of the bile that it pours out, the way it poisons the political discourse in the United States.
But that's not what the regulator is looking at now. Unfortunately for you, surely the issue now is simply whether they may well, because of the time lapse. It's very murky, because of the time lapse.
Yeah.
If you look at the AT&T Time Warner takeover, that's taken over a year to regulate in the United States. This might take even longer.
Well, that's where you're absolutely right. Is the thing I've learned during my political career is you don't assume anything with the Murdochs until it's signed, sealed and delivered. So we've got to keep a strong watch on this. I would expect the Competition and Markets Authority, when they come back on this deal in mid-January, to object to the Murdochs simply taking over Sky on the grounds of plurality, his power, and the broadcasting standards to which they're committed. So that process goes on. But I think in the long term, it looks to me pretty clear that if this deal goes through, the Murdoch claws are going to be removed from Sky, and that's a good thing.
Briefly, Anushka, very clearly, Murdoch is not dead yet, that's for sure. And therefore, what's he up to? Is he going to come back with something?
Who knows? What's clear is that he's still going to be controlling the most powerful news broadcaster in the cable news broadcaster in the US, Fox News, and he's really going to be growing his sports business by the looks of things. And obviously he still owns News Corp. There has been some speculation about whether or not he may re-merge all that and merge those companies back together, which you may remember he split up back in 2013 after the phone hacking scandal. But this morning they were saying that that's not something that's being considered right now. But definitely he was not suggesting any kind of retreat, but definitely more committed and still interested in being a competitive spirited newsman, as he put it.
Anushka Sakawi, thank you very much. And Ed Miliband, thank you so much for coming in.